Hello, we're back. Welcome to the Long Run podcast and live stream from the 40 Runs Running Community. Episode 10. I'm still going. Anyway, we've got loads to get through tonight. So Chris has been on his holidays, dashed back from the West Country, avoided all the traffic on the M4 just to come and see you good people at 7 o'clock on a Friday night. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Big shout out to Ray, to John, and I've got to give a big shout out to Ken as well. Ken, for the donation, thank you very much. But big shout out to those guys. But yes, I'm here. We made it back. We switched everything up last week because basically it was all away, weren't we? So, but if you're doing the London Marathon, you've got to listen to that podcast that we did last week because there's some really good tips in there. So yeah, 100% listen to that. But we've got an amazing guest on today. The postman's here. Mark, he's here. Look, hello, Mark.
Yeah, we better introduce him.
Hi, guys.
There he is.
Mark McGreevy.
Posty. He always delivers. Always delivers.
Always delivers.
I've got some great stories about
Mark.
Great stories about Mark coming tonight.
Oh, yeah. Well, ever since I said, we've got Mark coming on, the number of people that says to me, oh, what a top bloke. Oh, it's great that he's such a nice guy. He's going to come out with so many great stories. He's going to be so I'm afraid the scene's been set, mate. And you better not disappoint your public.
Let's hope not. My family are probably ready to slaughter me right now downstairs watching.
Don't take it from me. It's jealousy. That's what it is. No one asked them. So it's fine. So, Chris, you've been in Somerset. Did you?
Yeah, be lovely.
Break, mate? Not done so much running.
No, I took a self-imposed running break, only for a couple of days. A self-imposed running break. I still ended up running 3 times, but one of them was with Mrs. FORDY. She smashed out 5K, which was lovely. And I did 2K with the kids, which was good. But yeah, self-imposed. I tried to rest and recover a bit last week. I was feeling a bit jaded, feeling a bit tired. I think where we are in terms of marathon training and stuff like that, probably some of you can sympathise with that. I was just feeling a bit knackered, really. So I tried to switch off. I had major FOMO from the big half, like on another level FOMO from the big half, because I've always done that event. So yeah, I had major FOMO. So I was really pleased just how everybody did and the response that we got from other people outside of our community and the club, from the showing that we put on, and just to see everybody's achievements, the volunteers and everything really from that weekend. It was fun, and watching it on TV was good. But then after that, I basically switched off, which was kind of nice, and then sort of back in the saddle from tomorrow. Really, I did a little run today, but back in the saddle tomorrow. So I'm looking forward to basically. Yeah, go on.
Speaking from my own experience, I'm doing Yorkshire Marathon for people who didn't know, so I'm about halfway through, and it feels like a real funny stage because the mileage is building up, but I'm finding it hard to see the end of the tunnel. Yeah. So I think if I get through sort of like the next 10 days, I'll be cracking on. I'll be fine. But it's been a slog the last 7 days.
Yeah, you're a couple of weeks behind me. You're in that naughty stage of where the miles are really starting to crank up. I've gone through that a little bit, but because Tobe and I are working on these cycles where we go through the bigger miles, we did a fast half. We did 20 and then 20, I think it was when it Tobe, something like that. We did 2 20s back to back, so in a 3-run rotation, and then we deliberately have a down week, which is where I was away. But I was feeling the effects of that because the last 2 we did at sort of quite a bit of it at goal pace. So I was feeling kind of just a bit jaded and a bit tired. So we'll see. We're effectively in the home stretch now, ahead of what will be tapering in a couple of weeks, which we'll come on to in another podcast. But yeah, so I'm just looking forward to it now. Almost. We'll get into the London Marathon and all the emails and stuff like that. I'd be very interested to know people's opinions about the changes to the London Marathon. And also, like to hear from people, not just London, but Brighton, Manchester, other marathons around the world, half marathons, Great North Runs coming up, about what your thoughts are in terms of the changes and the way that they're, making it different this year. I'd be interested to know, so stick them in the comments and we'll try and get to as many of them. And actually also talking about the comments just quickly, because I want to get onto an email. If you've got any questions in terms of, usual sort of stuff, just make sure you stick them in the Facebook.
Anything running related, we'll do our best.
Or even not running related, we don't really care, do we?
I will say that it's been quite nice. Your little breakaways reminded me of it, really. It's been nice seeing pictures on Facebook, both outside and inside the group, of people doing nice things on holidays, lots of green grass and, doing different stuff rather than just pictures of people's feet by pools and sat in Irish bars drinking pints of warm lager, watching Manchester United against Aston Villa on Sky Sports and things like that. It's been quite nice to see people doing different stuff. That's really cheered me up. So that's really good.
There you go.
So, Mark, just before we go, you've got a hectic schedule coming up, haven't you?
Yeah, I've just done 18 miles this week, and I'm preparing for Brighton as a training run, and then I've managed to get a ballot place into London, so I didn't want to dump Brighton, so I'm using that as a training run. Then I've got a 3-week gap, and then I'm heading to London Marathon, which I'm really chuffed with to get a place for that.
Cool. I mean, that's going to be a pretty grueling schedule, isn't it, mate? So we'll touch on that, though, Chris, won't we? We'll talk a little bit about that
we'll come on
later on. So we'll talk about your emails first, shall we? What you got?
Yeah, I think the first one I wanted to just pick up on quickly was from somebody sent it in called Richard Head. He's concerned about Alan because Alan's been missing for the last few weeks, and he was worried that he's not been able to get out of the home or whatever. But rest assured, I know this was Alan's idea about starting the podcast and everything, and he's not done that many shows. But basically, what you need to understand with Alan, Richard, is the fact he's got a couple of obsessions out there. One of them is from Nick from the Run Testers. He's obsessed with that man. He just stalks him around Chingford. The other two that he's really obsessed with is Chris Evans and that Vassos geezer who done all them books. Now, Chris Evans has got some concert, loving session this weekend. So Alan is down there basically stalking. It's a picture of him. If you're not watching the podcast, we just put a picture of Alan up. But he's basically stalking Chris Evans and Vassos around this festival. He's like a dog looking for his bone. He can't help it. He's got these man crushes. So
if I just describe this picture for the people on the podcast, Alan is there, face beaming, surrounded by about people who are sort of look about 15 years younger than him.
Yeah.
And they seem to be watching, I think it's Howard Donaldson, take that, spinning the wheels of steel out on the, it was Tom Jones the other week. He had a vegan festival the week before, and I said to him, so what do you do at this vegan festival? Do you just sort of have your lunch and then sit around and wait for your tea? Yeah. So, which is basically what he did. Yeah. By all accounts. So we'd like him. We're hoping one day he will come back, but he's on a written warning, frankly.
And I think Richard Head's email is quite timely. The fact that he's concerned that Alan's not appeared for the last few weeks, and no worries, Richard, he will be coming back. I just hope that he survives the weekend because obviously he's going to be doing a lot of stalking. So we wish him well, and hopefully he'll come back.
Yeah, I think we can look out for a few more pictures every time about.
Yeah, we've got some questions. So should we get a couple of these batted out and then we'll crack on with the postman? What do we got first? We've got Michael Eaton. Where's Michael? I'm a relatively new runner, 2 years or so, but not really improving and struggling to stick to a plan. I have but love running tips. Struggling to stick to a plan. I would sign up for an event. That's usually a real sharpener. If you can get yourself to sign up for something, whether if you I don't know what level you're at in terms of distance, but maybe try and push yourself. So maybe if you're at 5K, go and sign up for a 10K. If you're at 10K, a half, or even the big one, a marathon, but maybe pick a smaller local one so there's not so much pressure in terms of doing one of the big ones. But give yourself a goal at the end of that plan, is my view. And that tends to sharpen the mind a little bit, keep the consistency, keep the mojo going through that training plan a little bit easier. So hopefully that helps Michael. But thank you for the question. Who else have we got? We've got Ray. Ray we've already given a shout out to, but he's got a half marathon in September, if I'm reading that right. Is that right, boys?
He's in America. It might be the other way around.
Yeah, what would be a good way
October.
to figure out my pace without blowing up? Well, depends what you're going for, Ray, really. Are you looking to smash a PB? Are you looking just to finish? Give us a bit more detail, but figuring out your pace, have a look at maybe what if you're training to heart rate, have a look where your easy pace is in terms of your zones, zone 2, zone 1, and then figure out what you're training at is from there. That's what I'd maybe look at. But yeah, just work out what that easy pace, that conversational pace is, how that feels, and then sort of go from there. I would, but yeah, I'll give that a go. There was a couple others, but I've probably missed them, haven't I?
Okay, well, we might dig them out a bit later.
I've got 2 emails as well, by the way, so we'll come on back to them. And one of them's really good because it's about the Great North Run, so we'll come back to that. Yeah.
Okay, then. So before we get on to talk to Mark, and perhaps we'll. There's been a lot of developments with the London Marathon this year. I know we do talk a lot of sort of London-centric stuff, but obviously it is the big event that we have to give it due attention, really. So lots of stuff since we've been away, because we did our preview for the London Marathon last week, but it was pre-recorded the week before. So it's been a couple of weeks to allow London news to get through and everything. So what we haven't covered is the move to October, principally for next year, which I know on the Facebook group, there were some people who were concerned about the fact that they would have to do summer training and they'd already got a place in London, having eyed that up for an April event. So that's been a concern to people. And also, I noted this week that there's going to be no pacers, and I wondered what sort of effect that might have, Chris.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things, and just bear with me, people. Sit down and get ready, because I'm going to go on a bit of a rant and rave about this. So hold tight. Posty, you might want to put your fingers in your ears soon. But firstly, about the pacers, I totally understand that in terms of if you've ever done a mass scale, large scale event, the pacers, who do an incredible job, by the way. And I know we take the mickey out of Alan, but he is pacing at the Hackney Half in a couple of weeks. So if you want to run alongside him and annoy him for 2.5 hours, he's doing the Hackney Half. I might even sign up to do the Hackney Half just to run alongside him.
Hey, that's a good idea.
And annoy him for 2.5 hours. But anyway, that's another story. But yeah, they do a fantastic job. But I understand why they're not doing them, because you can get big crowds of people around them, and they want to avoid big crowd, to a degree, but a lot of runners together. So I get that. It is unfortunate. It's a part of the times, and you've all got you've got to work out what your pacing is. You can get those wristbands with your paces on, or you can ride it up your arm, whatever. So maybe that's something to think about if you're worried about your pace. In terms of moving it to October, I know a lot of people are upset. I know the captain was particularly upset about this because he's now got to train through the summer again. Which he didn't want to do, which is why he put back to April. I totally understand that, because summer training is hard and not for everybody. But when you sit back and look at it in terms of the pandemic, where they're at and things like that, I think it makes sense. I appreciate summer training is hard, right? Because we've just gone through it or doing it now. But I think, when you sit and think about it, actually probably makes sense. April, you don't know what's going to happen over winter. Let's see what happens. But the thing that has really annoyed me, and stand by people, is this business about the bag drop, right? Now, I understand what they're saying to a degree. And when I say the bag drop, I'm talking about everybody taking their bags to the expo or the running shop or show, whatever they're calling it now, and dropping off your bags there to avoid, and I might be wrong, but it's to avoid contact or contact points. Now, what I don't understand is everybody is going to be getting on a train, tube, or walking to London, to the Excel Centre, walking around an indoor building, touching loads of stuff to drop off a bag. It makes no sense to me why they couldn't send us our bags out, send us our race numbers out. Postman, he would have done a good job and delivered them all.
He'd have been brilliant.
He'd have loved it. But we've got all our bags, got all our numbers, right? And then on the day, we are outside, and we've gone up to the thing and given the people, to the amazing volunteers who look after the stuff on the day, who are outside as well, who will probably be wearing PPE in terms of gloves, face masks and all that. And then you give it to them, and then they drive the van down to the finish line. They then get them out with their PPE still on, and you take them off of it. It makes no sense to me. And I'll tell you why they're doing it, because I wasn't born yesterday, right? That we've got to go into London to give their bags to somebody, and we're going to be indoors with all these people touching loads of things. And they're talking about avoiding touching stuff. It makes absolutely no sense. I know why they're doing it, because they want us to go to the expo to buy stuff, right? That's all it is. It's to go to the expo to buy stuff. It's effectively a running shop. And this is the only way that, it's another way they can make money. They don't have to spend out on getting the lorries. And I'm sure it's something to do with their insurance. It makes no sense to me whatsoever about going into London and giving your bags over. It massively affects people who stay over. I think it's quite arrogant to think that everybody travels down on the day. There's a lot of people who have to come from other parts of the country, other parts of the world, and have luggage with them. I think that's quite...
Sorry, Chris, so you've got to drop this off before you get to Greenwich Park to do the run, have you?
You've got to go into London to the XL Centre. They're going to send you out a clear bag that you've got to shove all your stuff in for the finish line. And by the way, small plug, there's going to be a great video for you guys out on Monday about what to put in there, #plug. But you then got to take that, you've got to go into London, probably on public transport, right? With all your mask on, and then you've got to walk indoors to the XL Centre, walk through it, get your number, right? And then go into the XL Centre, walk around 100 stalls, and look at stuff that's massively overpriced that you don't really need. And then you've got to go and drop your bag off and then leave and go back on public transport.
And this ain't Trafalgar Square. This is in the middle of bloody nowhere, the XL.
It makes no sense. It makes no sense. And they're saying because they want less contact. Well, surely, I mean, let me know in the comments, people. You can see I'm quite annoyed about it. But would it not make more sense that they send everything out in the post to us, race numbers as well, right? And we all bowl up on race day and we go outside, because we're outside, and we give them to somebody. It worked perfectly well in some of the other events that have already taken place. You give it to them, they're going to be all PP, up. They stick it in a van, they drive it to the finish. Bob's your uncle, you get your bag. It just makes no sense to me. So that has really irritated me, why they've done that, because everything else they've done is incredible. And I take my hat off to London Marathon events for getting the event up and running. They did a superb job at the big half from what I saw and the feedback I got. An amazing job. Everybody felt safe. Everybody felt secure. And that was incredible. But this business with sending people to the XL Centre, it just is annoying, and it really impacts people who are staying over as well. I think it's quite arrogant.
And I think it's very easy to draw the conclusion that it's just for commercial purposes, that they just want to line their pocket and get people to buy stuff. I think that's that leaves a bit of a belly, I think.
Yeah, there's no upside for us to go to the XL Centre. I see no reason to go to the XL Centre. Why they can't send it out? It was 6 weeks out that they announced this, right? 6 weeks. They would have known this. They would when they got this all approved, they would have had all this in place through their risk assessment, COVID risk assessment, everything. They'd have had all of this in place, so they would have known exactly what they're doing. So they could have said 6 to 8 weeks ago, right, guys, your race number, your bags, all coming out. There you go, bosh. On race day, go up to the van, and if anybody's ever done it, usually there's like a barrier anyway where someone comes down and gets it from you. So you're 2 meters, effectively you could be 2 meters apart anyway. And it's not like it's really busy around that area. Most people just go up, give it to them and go. It's not like there's a massive queue. If anybody's ever been to the XL Centre on race the week leading up to the London Marathon, right, there is a huge queue waiting to get your number. And you're indoors. I think they've lost their minds, London Marathon events, and it's a real shame, and it's controversial. I appreciate what I'm saying, and they obviously know better than me. They've got experience in more experience than me in this. I totally appreciate that, right? And I'm not having a go just for the sake of having a go, but for me, in terms of common sense, it just appears there is none to this.
Sounds like a bit of a rick, doesn't it?
Yeah. So Yeah, anyway, I'll get back off my soapbox, but I needed to get that off my chest.
No, and you made a very good argument, mate. Is excellent. And lots of people have been agreeing with you as well. Gemma said that she thought you was talking in complete sense. I saw her comment, and a few others. That's brilliant. I mean, we've invited Mark on, and we've hardly talked to him, and we've done 20 minutes, and I'm starting to feel a bit guilty. So I think perhaps it's time to talk to Mark McGreevy, who is our guest this week, known by everybody in the sort of East Hertfordshire, FORDY area as the Posty, even though he's not their Posty. He is a Posty in a different area. So, we'll have a chat with him, and we'll move on. So, Mark, welcome along, mate.
Thank you.
Lovely to have you. Nice to have a bloke on, because we've had lots of girls so far. So it's nice to have a gentleman along to spend our Friday night with. Perhaps you'd like to tell everybody a little bit about yourself and how you got into the group and how you got into running, first of all.
Yeah, well, I'm 51 now. I started. My wife suggested doing the Catch the 5K about 5 years ago. I was always been quite fighting my weight quite a bit. So about that time I was about 16 stone. So I was working night shifts, so I was eating bad stuff and snacking, and it weren't good for me. So did a bit of gym, but it just wasn't for me. It just wasn't motivating me. So we went out and did the Catch for 10K or 5K. I did 12 weeks from September up to like November time, and we got into it. We completed it. It was tough fitting it in with the night shifts, and literally I would finish work at like 9 o'clock. By the time I got home, went straight out for a run, which was a real.
And this was before you were on the post, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was like working for supermarkets on night shift back then. So I've only been a postman the last 2 years. So and then we did the Catch the 5K, hit Christmas, dropped off again, and the following like January, February time we restarted it, and it just sort of built up from there. I think I booked in the following year for the British 10K. Did that in about an hour and 8 minutes, and I did that on my own. And then the following year, I think it was the March, I did another 10K round Lee Valley, and that's when I saw that there was a video of the finish line, and that's when I was searching it on YouTube. I looked it up and bumped into Chris's video, and then sort of joined the Facebook group, which was probably about 400 people back then, and that was it. It's just gone from strength to strength. Before you know it, you're sort of sucked into doing a half marathon, and then just did a few half marathons, and then I left supermarkets, and then sort of just before then I thought, I think I nearly tipped 17 stone at one point. So I thought I really had to push on and sort of really lose that extra weight. So got me gait tested at the physio, and did 3 half marathons within 3 months. Decided at that point, I'll do a marathon next, because my friend Dowd said, did a like earworm, say, going for London. And at that point it was like, no, I'm not going to do that. It's too early. But that stayed in my head, and before you know, I signed up for Brighton 2019. It was tough, don't get me wrong, and I think I did it in 5.5 hours, just under. So, but ever since then, it's just been the next challenge. So it sort
of got out of control a little bit then. So you would sort of like primarily it was primarily a weight loss thing then when you got involved in that?
I think it was a bit of weight loss, a bit of fitness, because you get to your mid-40s and you sort of think, get into that age where if I don't control it now, when you're in your 20s, you can lose weight really easily. But you can say, all right, I've lost a lot of weight. If you look over the 5 years, I've lost 4 stone. But it will always go up and down, because I've got, in my head, I'm still always fighting the sort of wanting to have the extra 2 or 3 digestive biscuits with me coffee, I'm always going to be fighting that. So, and if I keep running, which, you know, if it hadn't been for the Facebook group and the FORDY runs group, I would do occasional runs, but I wouldn't have been so consistent, just keeping on top of it.
I have to say, the Posty, right, and I'm not just saying this because he's here, but he's my hero, right? This chap has gone, honestly, his weight loss is incredible. And his sheer determination, if you come on a Wednesday night and watch him, right, he absolutely blows my mind every week. He's giving 150% every single. Toby, you'll say the same, isn't it? 150% every single. Doesn't matter what we're doing, even if we're running easy, he's giving 150%. But it's just that sheer, it's the wrong word, bloody mindedness of him that he's going to get better and he's going to lose weight and he's going to keep pushing. Honestly, even simple things like his foot strike has improved. He was a real, heel striker. You used to hear when he was coming. He's lighter on his toes. He moves faster. His form is just so much better. But it's just that determination. I remember seeing him at Brighton. Do you remember, Posty? I was filming down there.
Yeah.
And he was just slugging it out. He's the sort of guy who would just slug it out. And as I say, he's my hero. Not just the weight loss, but it's just his mental attitude towards running and getting fit and looking after himself. He's an incredible human being. He really is. And he again encompasses what FORDY Runs is all about. You know, your everyday runner, just trying to get better, trying to get fitter, trying to lose weight. Meets people, social with people, and wants to try a new challenge. Throws himself in. We'll come on to it in a sec, but he's doing 2 marathons back to back. He'll just sign up and do crazy stuff. But again, it's just a genuine nice person, and I just love him. I do. I think he's just an incredible person, and I'm not just saying that because he's here, but I do. I'd tell it to anybody.
No, it's lovely to hear, mate. Sorry about that. I've had a few connection issues. Michael, what I wanted to touch upon, you've mentioned that you were a night shift worker when you were working with Sainsbury's, and obviously with being a postman as well, there's issues with, you work unusual hours. I wondered if you had any sort of advice or tips for people who might find themselves in a similar position, who don't always have a Sunday off to go and do their long run and things like that, and just sort of fitting in their training around unusual working hours.
I think with night shift, it was literally second I got in, change, go out before I go to bed. I know somebody mentioned earlier about trying to consistency in their training plan. If you're struggling for consistency, book that race. That'll give you a bit of a G up, but also get up a bit earlier. Get up and set the alarm an hour earlier. Just go out and get it done, get it showered, go to work. Otherwise, if you put it off later in the day, you won't get it done because you'll find a million things to do, whether it's walk the dog, take the kids to school. There's always an excuse you can put in the way. So you just got to go for it. It's, there are some days I'd get in from work, Claire said, come on, we're going out. It's only like catch the 5K is probably the hardest bit of your training you're ever going to do. Because the 1 minute you're running for 3 minutes and it's killing you, and the next minute is telling you to run another 12 minutes without stopping. It's just such a tough bit of your training.
It's the hardest part. I didn't thought of it like that because I didn't do it. I just jumped in sort of full whack. But yeah, that's an interesting point you make. And I think, but for beginners to remember that that is the tough bit. It's easier to. I suppose it's just building. It's all relative, isn't it? It's like building a base that if you're going to do a marathon, it's that first initial thing.
It's habit and getting the consistency. We see it so often, even on a Monday with the catch to 5K that we do for some of the women. You see some of them who come and then go because it's having and life gets in the way. But building that consistency into it is so hard. But if you can get over that barrier of finding the opportunity, being selfish and carving out 30 minutes to go out and start, your running journey or whatever fitness you're trying to do. It doesn't necessarily have to be about running, but, you having that commitment to improving yourself in terms of fitness and mental fitness as well, mental health. just to be able to get out there. But it is so hard. You'll do a couple of weeks and then you'll get tired and you think, oh, I can't be bothered. This comes up, that comes up. And that's where it really, really gets tough. I tell you what, I want to get into doing the marathons back to back because I think it's a really interesting. But I do want to just jump onto a question I've just seen from John. It's a little bit off camber, but he was mentioning about landmarks and Manchester. And I tell you why, because Toby and I have been chatting about this while I was away, because we was looking at, and just coming back from the London Marathon chat or rant and rave I had, was one of the opportunities that London moving into October 22 gives us is that there's more sort of marathon opportunities to do in April. So Toby and I were looking at Paris, Manchester. I've got a deferred place, but throw a spanner in the works. London Landmarks, which is a great event, as we all know, has picked the same weekend as Paris and Manchester Marathon. And I know it's close to the Brighton Marathon, which, again, some people might want to rest before then. So it's kind of messed a few people up. And John's saying he's got a place. If he wins a spot in London Landmarks, does he sack off Manchester? And it's the same thing what Tobe said. If Tobe gets a place in Landmarks, we're going to sack off Manchester. And we'll probably do Brighton, I guess, Tobe, we was talking about, weren't we? Even though we wanted to use the opportunity to maybe to go to Paris or do something like that.
Yeah. I mean, I've got a place in Edinburgh, which is May Bank Holiday, which would fit in quite nicely with it.
I've got Edinburgh as well. There you go.
Yeah, we've got Edinburgh as well in, but it's just...
Oh, we'll go to Scotland then.
We're just going to do it. We would ask Alan, but I know he's going to be busy at some sort of festival still.
Yeah, I think he's seeing Rod Stewart in Newquay or something.
Yeah. He might be at another vegan festival or doing something or dancing around a total. Well, they dance around poles, don't they? It's the other thing he does. He's that, what's it called? Merry-go-go. What do they call them? You know, with the where he dresses up.
Maypoles.
What is it?
Maypoles.
Yeah, maypoles. Have you seen the pictures of him where he's dressed up, Alan? He's got all that kit on with the ribbons and that. He does all that as well when he's not stalking Chris Evans and Black Vassal's geezer. Anyway, so my point is, sorry, we've totally gone off camera again. It's lucky these things aren't live. Is Morris dancing? Thanks, John. Is that Alan's a Morris dancer. So I'm in the same predicament as you, John. Personally, I would sack Manchester off, do Landmarks because it's a fantastic event, and grab another marathon, whether it be Edinburgh, whether it be Brighton, whatever. But use that opportunity now.
There's probably going to be a much better split, isn't there, this year?
Yeah. But anyway,
everything's in 2 weeks.
I wanted to talk about. Yeah, sorry, Will. I wanted to talk about to Ian the back-to-back marathons because I don't know. I'd be interested to know. We should have put a poll up. Can we put polls up on this thing, Toe? Whether who's in the same boat, who's got 2 marathons because of all the deferrals. It's like you just said, Ian. You've got Edinburgh next year. I've got about 10 at the start of the year. That I'm not going to be able to do all of them. And I think it's a really interesting point that, like, Posty, how are you? I know you and I have chatted about this, but how are you looking at it in terms of Brighton and London? Which way is it round, by the way? Is it Brighton first and then London?
Brighton's first, and then London's exactly 3 weeks after. So I've got like 2 Sundays in between. So Brighton I'm using as a 20-mile training run, and then the last 6 miles easy, whether a walk, jog, whatever. And also I've never seemed to, I've done like Brighton 2 years ago, and I did a virtual marathon last year, and I never seemed to get my nutrition right, and like the eating and the drinking, I don't seem to nail it. So basically I'll just use Brighton as a complete training exercise. You know, don't care what time I do, take it in, enjoy it. And then the 2 weeks, a really recovery week the following week, and then sort of building up to what I would have done in my tapering week the week before, the 2 weeks before London. So London is my A race. Brighton is just literally a training run that's just by the coast, just to get me.
I think that's the key. Yeah, I think that's the key. What Posty's saying about is if you're in the same boat, is using one of them, whatever. Usually the first one is your training run. So use it as a 20. I mean, actually, it's quite nice having the couple of weeks gap between them, isn't it, Posty? Really, to be able to get, you know, the sort of not the marathon out of the legs, but effectively a little taper between the two, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, obviously, for my job, I do an awful lot of walking, and I'm hoping that will just ease me muscles for the next, 2-3 weeks between time.
Yeah.
But it's all these extra bad drop on that, getting that right. So when I do Brighton, all the mistakes that I've made or when I do London, all the mistakes that I make at Brighton is nailed on.
Yeah, use it as basically a training run, not just for you for the run, but like as you say, now your nutrition strategy, now your pacing strategy, get your what it's like at the start, get it what it's like with all these new regulations and rules and all that sort of stuff. Get a feel so your anxiety levels can decrease a little bit on race day when you get to London, and just use it literally as a training run. And as you say, Posty, learn from it because you're going to make mistakes. You know, that's the whole, the whole process of it. So, you're going to then be in a much better place mentally for London when it comes round.
Yeah.
I think that's the best advice for anybody. So if you are one of these unfortunate victims like Posty, definitely use your first one as your training one. And then whatever you learn from there, take it into the next one. There ain't that much. Get the 20 miles and just then chill out. Run it as though you were running your first 20 miles and then just chill out. And then, like Posty's, if you walk, what are you going to do about it? Just walk. So, just relax. And then, you're going to be in a great place come race day for London. I think there's going to be a lot of this next year as well. Like we were just talking about with landmarks and all this. There's going to be a lot of back-to-back stuff again next week, right? There's going to be a lot of back-to-back stuff. Right, here we go. Okay, so we've got some questions coming in, chaps. Where are we? Where was it? I saw it. Karen had to sack Manchester, had to sack Amsterdam off. Yeah, that makes sense. Brighton is the training run for me. I can't see who this is, but Brighton is the training for me. As I didn't get the time there, I'll go and try it again in Manchester. Yeah.
240.
No,
pardon? Rapid. 240 going for. That's going to be rapid, isn't it?
Mr. Wilkes, that one.
That is.
Got to be in it.
Right, where was it? I saw another question. Oh, Paul Spurdle's here. Hello, Paul. There was another question somewhere, but I can't remember where it is. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I tell you what. Should we hit Posty up with the lightning round?
Yeah, hopefully my connection will last. Let's go.
Yeah, go on, go.
Okay then, Mark. 10 questions. I'll go through them quick. Okay.
Yeah, go.
Bucket list race.
It's London. I've not really thought about any foreign ones at all. So maybe New York or Washington or somewhere like that. But
pre-race breakfast.
Porridge.
Favorite distance.
Half
Nike
marathon.
or Adidas.
Asics, but
Asics.
Yeah, I go for Adidas.
Favorite brand of running shorts.
Is there other brands? I've just got normal cheap running shorts, to be honest.
I'm all over that. A bit of decathlon, mate. Nothing wrong with that. Coke or Pepsi?
Coke.
Summer or winter training?
I would have always said winter, but I've enjoyed the summer, to be honest, this year.
Road or trail?
Road.
Your one song playlist?
I think Chloe nailed it with the classical last week, but it's got to be something long and slow, a bit gothy, maybe, or a bit of Marillion.
Oh, brilliant! And do you prefer being out and you're around on your feet or out in the van?
Feet.
Yeah.
100%.
Top answers, mate. Thanks very much for that.
Cheers.
And we got through it without my Wi-Fi blowing up. So
I'll tell you what, you've had one with your Wi-Fi tonight, haven't you? Who's your Wi-Fi supplier? Let's give them a shout because they won't be listening to it.
I'm blaming the works computer, mate.
Who is it?
I'm blaming the works computer.
Oh, we're not blaming Wi-Fi?
Nah.
At least
It's
he's
the hard
showed
way.
up, though. Unlike Al, at least he's made the effort of showing
Yeah,
up.
at least he's turned up, man, like Al. Al can't blame the Wi-Fi. Al just blames Chris Evans and his love for him. I love you, Chris. That's what he says. I love you. Look, there's Chris Evans. I love you, Chris. Right, we should stop talking about Al. I've had a question in, come in, email, sorry. And by the way, what's the email address, Toe?
I thought that. What's the bloody email address? Here we go.
Right, we want to email your topics or questions. Guys, just keep emailing. We love all the emails. Keep sending them in because we've got no content. And basically, we need you to send stuff in. Doesn't even have to be running related anymore. To the longrunshow@gmail.com. Send it in.
Long run show. There's no the.
No, it's no the. It's longrunshow@gmail.com. Whether you're a Morris dancer, you like to go to festivals, you like white trainers, anything like that, send in your questions, your topics, whatever, and we will mostly try and cover as much of it as we can. So here we go. Now, in all seriousness, I thank you, John, for the super chat. Big shout out to Elaine Bunting for this question because this is about Great North Run, and we will be talking about the Great North Run in detail in a couple of weeks' time because it's coming up. Okay, but this is, I think, is a fantastic question, and there's actually two in it. She's got fueling concerns. She's in wave 25 because there's like 450 waves at the Great North Run, right? So she's going off at 1:15. And she usually runs in the morning about 7:30, 8 o'clock, and she has porridge and coffee. How does she change and adapt to starting at 1 o'clock? Right? Really good point. The other thing, which I think is a really interesting point, and we come back to London Marathon again. It's not a London Marathon sponsored show, but if they want to sponsor us, I'm not sure they will do after my rant. We're open to it.
Should have thought about that.
Well, they make so much money, don't they, out of the London Marathon? You think about it. 50,000 people spent 25 quid on a medal. You work out the maths, people. The medal, I'll give you a clue, costs about £4 or £5. You work that out, 50,000 people, put it in the comments. That's how much they've made. I wonder how much of that's going to charity. I know they got the trust and they do give money out, right, to certain things, but you let me know. Right, so she said she's worried about the atmosphere starting at 1:15. Now, I think that's a really good point because the big thing about the Great North Run is the atmosphere, right? And the people of the Northeast. It's just they're just incredible. It's an incredible place to be for that event. But starting at 1:15 is the atmosphere. Are people going to still be out? Because usually it's done and dusted or starting to get done and dusted by then. So all these extra waves, how's that going to affect the atmosphere? I don't know. I don't know what the answers are. So I'd be interested in your input. But to go back to the fueling concerns, personally, if you're starting at 1:15, I'd be interested to know what time they've asked you to get there. And then I would work back from there and I would do the same principle in terms of your timeline. So just do the same stuff. So if you're fueling, 2 hours, I think it is, or an hour, whatever it is before, just fuel the same thing, the same period. So just do what you've done before, just bring it, later.
I'm talking about what time you got to be there and things like that. I've just dug out my entry because I start at 12:15.
Yeah.
And I've been told to arrive no sooner than 11:15.
Okay, so here's a question for you, Ian. How are you going to fuel yourself?
I think I'll have a lie in and have a late breakfast, really. Because usually if I was starting at 9:30, then I'd have a breakfast at around 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
So I'll just have a bit of a lie in and go to the hotel breakfast a little bit later. I won't worry too much.
Yeah. No, I think that's probably the right answer, if that makes any sense. But what do we feel about this, this atmosphere, starting so late? What do we think, boys?
Well, it's going to be difficult as well because obviously, people who aren't aware, because of the concerns about people getting on public transport afterwards, there's no run to South Shields this year. The route has been changed, so it's more of a out and back to Newcastle. So obviously half the people who used to turn out won't be turning out probably at all because it's not going to be going down past their house in South Shields or anything like that. So I think it might be a little bit more muted. I mean, it'll probably be, it's a sort of thing that people who are based in the Northeast, it'll be interesting to see what the mood is up there at the moment. You know, if we talk to, I'm sure we'll talk to somebody based up in that neck of the woods in the next couple of weeks when we talk about the Great North Run. But it's not something that I'm concerned about. It is a great thing, and like you said, I've done it once, and it was an amazing atmosphere. And I'm pretty confident that the people of Newcastle will rise to the occasion and they'll come out and support it.
Yeah, I tend to agree, but I do have slight concerns because you know people have got stuff to do, right? So, but I agree, and I think a lot of people will feel the same because the crowd really. I mean, Posty, you know, from where you've done like Brighton and stuff like that, the crowd can have a massive impact, right, on how you're feeling towards the end of the run. Oh, he's on mute. Posty,
He's
you're on mute.
Yeah, I mean the crowd at Brighton were absolutely amazing. You get past the 40-mile point and you turn down the road and you can see 2 miles one direction and 2 miles coming back, and it's just the crowd were just amazing there. Going back to the fueling point, I would say try and get one training run where you do start running at 1:15 or whatever time it is.
Absolutely.
Just to see how you cope, because it's and that's the same reason why I'm doing Brighton, because I was worried that, you know, London was going to start like 3-4 hours later than I would ever consider going out for a normal run. So the same thing.
That's really good advice.
Try and I know it's going to be real pain because you're totally out your comfort zone, but with a bit of training it does work. I mean, I used to hate running in the afternoons, but doing the club running, that's really helped that bit of it.
I think the problem is
sorry,
yeah,
Wilco.
I think it's people. There's been a lot of concern, particularly on the Great North, because we've got our own Facebook group, you know, for the Great North Run. There's a lot of concern about the logistics of the race, how things are going to go. People are concerned about, you know, getting there on time and getting into their wave, because there's, you know, my start time is down to 12:15 to 12:25, and my arrival, like I said, was at 11:15, and I'm told not to arrive any later than 11:30. So people are getting a lot stressed. They're getting quite stressed out about what's going to happen. We could find that it's a lot less regimented than it's printed out, because that's, you know, in our experience of doing the few sort of like post-COVID runs like the landmarks and things like that, it wasn't quite as strict as it turned out to be. And I just try not to. I would just urge people, try not to worry too much about it. Just try and just enjoy the day. Don't worry too much about there's not going to be anybody to cheer me on and things like that. Because if there's no one to cheer you on, there'll be plenty of people running who'll cheer you on, because people.
Yeah, exactly.
They'll be outgoing. They'll be talking to you. They'll will you on, and you will have a great experience, because it's a wonderful place and it's a great race.
Yeah, I think I'm looking forward to the Great North Run. I don't know whether we'll do a special. Let's have a think about it. But again, send your questions in or your topics that you want to talk about the Great North Run. It's coming up. How long we got in? A couple of weeks?
It's free. It's 2 weeks Sunday. Yeah, the 12th.
So maybe next week we'll do a bit of a Great North Run loving. So send your questions, your topics, whatever you want us to talk about. I've done it a few times, and we've got some great people, you know, in the group and stuff as well. So send your questions in. Where is it? longrunshow@gmail.com.
Yeah. Or stick them on Facebook. Send them, you know, start the thing there if you want questions and stuff. You know, we are more than happy to talk about whatever you like, particularly Great North Run, because we like banging on about the Great North Run because we love it so much.
We love it. I've got another question, Wilco.
Yeah, okay.
It wouldn't be a show, a podcast, or a live stream without a shoe question. So, and I tell you what, it was quite nice coming back from holiday and having all the new shoes here. So I'm looking forward to those. Where are we? Right, okay, 40, blah, blah, blah. Basically, in a nutshell, and this is from, hang on, Jamie, and I'm going to say this wrong because I'm an idiot, Fanaran. Sorry, Jamie. But basically, he's looking for a mile stability shoe that's fast and responsive at the same time, will be good post swim and bike. Now, it's not going to be fast and responsive, but what I would say to you is have a look at the Asics, the brand new, but the Kayano Light. It might have a little bit more stability than you're looking for, but the Kayano Light is just been released. Check that out. It's, I would say, better than the Prism, or have a look at the Vongo from New Balance, but just watch your sizing on the Vongo. But yeah, there you go. So there you go, Jamie Fanaran. I can never get names right, but there you go. Hopefully that was helpful.
So you got
Jamie.
a load of shoe reviews to come out then, mate. You're going to be busy, aren't you?
Yeah. Yes, it's all go here.
So you go for a week's holiday. This is what happens. It all backs up.
I said to Tobe, we've got a new vest as well to try tomorrow, which I'm quite excited about because everybody in the FORDY runs has got one of these, the pink ones, or the blue ones. So, but I've got a new one to test out, which I'm quite excited about tomorrow.
Bottle holders.
What?
The bigger bottle holders in this one.
No, the bottle holders I'm slightly concerned about, Tobe. Well, you're going to have to hear about me moaning for it for 3.5 hours tomorrow. But this is...
I've got the wrong end of the stick on this. It's a hydration vest. It's not actually a running vest.
This vest is ready for... Because we're running up Snowdon, I need something that's more trail / ultra / not just, your sort of everyday runner material. I need something that's a little bit more hardcore. So we've got something in, and we will see what it's like. But it might annoy me, and it might be down the River Lee floating along after about 10 minutes tomorrow. So we'll let you know on that one. But yeah, loads of stuff in this week. So I'm super excited about getting back out there and trying some of this kit out. We've had, by the way, people, just to let you know, Richard Head, who emailed in earlier asking about Alan, we have had a picture sent in from him. I know there's a lot of people concerned about him. Toe, have you got it? And you want to show, and this won't come out on the podcast, but there he is. He's fully branded and ready for action to chase Chris Evans and Vassos. He must be commended for being branded, I must say, and he looks good. But we do miss you, Alan. So Richard Head, there you go. He's okay. He's alive and well, and he's currently stalking Chris Evans. So there he is. That was sent about 2 minutes ago. Oh, if you're on the podcast, here's a picture of Alan in a purple 40 runs hoodie with a pink snood on his head.
Outside
looking a bit like he's having a good time, I would say.
Well, I thought he was trying to look like he was having a good time, but
yeah, he does. We've had some Dan Griffin. The atmosphere is complete unknown, given the different route and the city centre location. Probably not going to be exactly the same, but sure they'll be out where it allows them. Yeah, I make you right. That's the other thing as well, right? You got to think, people might not feel comfortable coming out and supporting. I noticed. Actually, funny enough, I just hammered him. But Alan, when I spoke to him about the big half, he said it was noticeable about the, and this is the wrong word, but lack of supporters at the big half. And that's not a negative. It was noticeable over the Tower Bridge, the how fewer charities were there in terms of cheer points. And again, we are at 40 runs looking at our cheer station at mile 19, whether we do it. Because if you read the documentation, it doesn't say, it says one supporter per runner. So in theory, our cheer station should not be allowed. I've contacted London Marathon. They probably probably don't listen to this, but if they listen to this, they'll probably tell me to do one now. But we've asked what the situation is in terms of club and community cheer stations, because there's obviously other clubs and communities out there that do have those cheer stations. The charities are obviously vital in terms of awareness, but also supporting their runners. But I'd be interested to know how that works for our cheer station. So how it all works with the support, whether people will come out. It's such an unknown is what I'm trying to get at in a roundabout way. It is such an unknown how it's all going to figure out this year. I think it's the right thing. But go on,
I was just going to say that if you're running, we always say you have to control the controllables, and you can't control how many people are going to be there and what you're going to do. So probably the best tactic is try not to worry about it too much.
Yeah, absolutely. Try not to worry about it. As you say, Wilco, control what you can control. The rest of it, don't worry about. You're going to be with other runners. You're going to. It's always nice. The London Marathon, the Great North Run. The local events, it doesn't matter what your running is. The great thing about running is that you can, well, apart from some of the miserable people, you know the sort of people I'm talking about, they take it very seriously. They all turn up, and it's like you go out and do a club run in Broxbourne, and then there's always another group of runners who look down at their noses at you. The sort of people I'm talking about. Anyway, But most people, 95% of runners are super, super awesome individuals who are just probably out there for their own reason or for running for a charity, whatever. And they're probably just as anxious or worried as you. So just have a chat with them and just, you know, pass the time. You know, that's the thing. If you're worried about it, just have a chat with somebody, one of the other runners with you, just asking where they're from, or you know, just say, have you listened to the Long Run podcast recently? I hear.
Or are you listening to the Long Run podcast?
Yeah,
no better way to spend your time back across Tyne Bridge.
That could be it. Or if you're Alan, sorry, I was listening to the Morris dancing podcast. You know, you could, but you know, there's all sorts of things you can talk about. Morris dancing, Chris Evans, or Nick from the Run Testers. You can talk about all these things when you're out there doing 26.2 miles or 10K, doesn't matter. Or park run. I tell you what, it was super nice. Tobe and I went and did another park run before I went away, and that was kind of cool. I mean, I'm enjoying that. And I've got one of these park run things. Have you seen these? Those bracelets, which has got all the, you know, your details on it. So if you like fall over, because it was there was a lady today, Mrs. Ford pointed her out that she wasn't feeling 100%. And you never know, you know, you're out in the middle of the Lee Valley and you know, you trip over or some God help when it happens. At least you've got all your details on there. So they're quite handy. It's not a plug, it's not paid for. The Long Run podcast is not sponsored by Park Run yet or Vitality yet. Definitely won't be sponsored by London Marathon events, but you never know.
Yeah, I've got one of those, the old style ones that's got your phone number on it, things like that. And I often wear it when I'm out on my own, just in case anything happens.
Yeah, and it's a serious point, people. If you've not got one, it's called ICE, isn't it? ICE, whatever it is. If you've not got something like that on you and you're out running, make sure you've got it on you.
You know, I've read stories before. People, they can't identify people for 2 or 3 days because they've been out running, something's happened, they've gone to hospital, and they've got no way of knowing who they are. So that's something to do. Mark, thanks ever so much for coming on, mate. I hope you enjoyed it. We weren't too intimidating.
Thank you.
Is it the end of the show?
Pleasure having you.
Cheers, mate.
Wow. Yeah. Blimey, most of that's been me ranting and raving again, isn't it?
Well, you know, that's what people pay their money for, isn't it? You know, that's what they want.
But can I just say again? I've been all serious. I love Posty. He is what this 40 Runs business is all about, right? It's just everyday runners. Whether you're, you know, couch to 5K, you want to lose some weight, you're running for your mental health, you're finding a new challenge. You know, you want to find some friends, you want to, you know, socialize a little bit more. You want to be, you know, just get involved or not get involved, but still, you know, feel part of something. But you don't want to be like one of these annoying runners, like I said about a minute ago. You know, that's what Posty and all you guys are all about. And it's incredible to have somebody like Posty on and all the guys that we've had on, all the guests, just amazing people, all of you. And I was so proud watching that big half on Sunday. I was in Somerset and me and the girls were watching it, and it was just incredible seeing it all. Knowing we had the volunteers there, you know, you got big shout out to all the volunteers, not just at the big half, but at landmarks and everybody up and down the country, not just in London, but, you know, Scotland, Wales. We got, you know, all the guys out in the US. You know, we were sending some stuff out, some kit out to the US the other day. I had some chat from South Africa message me as well. You know, it's just amazing that, you know, what you guys are creating in terms of connection with people around the world, with what 40 Runs is. And Posty is what it's all about, people like him. So thanks for coming on, bruv. I really, really, really appreciate it.
No, well, thanks, mate. And look, I want to thank all the admin guys that do the Facebook group and people like Matt that did the quiz and over the really bleak last year or so. So thanks for everyone. Cheers.
No, cheers, you're welcome, mate. Yeah, the captain's a good shout, actually. We need the captain back on because the captain ran the big half. Did anybody see it? He was out there running the big half, the captain. It was lovely to see. Again, another highlight was to see the captain back out, smashing up the streets of London. That was fantastic. And yeah,
not literally.
Not literally.
No time for that.
He's too sensible. The captain's too sensible. But we need to get the captain back on. And again, if you want to be on the show, we don't care. You know, we'll have 150 guests on here. Just email, what is it? longrunshow@gmail.com. We want you on the show. So if you want to come on and, you know, rant and rave or give a review about a race or talk about something, you know, whatever, we don't care. Just come on. email in and we'll get you on. It's just we love having you on. Love it.
So thanks ever so much. Thanks, Mark. Yeah, we're live on YouTube every week, every Friday at 7 o'clock, and you can download us on I think it's Yahoo and Google. We're doing that. Not Google, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts, you'll find us. There's 10 episodes now. That should keep you going for your long plod, anyway. So yeah, there's plenty to get stuck into. Interesting people.
And 2 of them have got Alan in.
Yeah, if you're lucky, it's a bit like Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory. You might be lucky, and you might get one that's got Alan on it.
If his Wi-Fi's working that week.
Thanks ever so much. Thanks for Toby for trying to keep order. Apologies again for my Wi-Fi. I'll blame the works computer. Don't tell them.
No,
we want to London Marathon events. We think they do a great job.
Yeah, we love London Marathon events. Oops.
And cheers, Chris. Welcome back to the land of the living, mate.
Yeah, I'll come back with a bang anyway.
Okay, thanks ever so much for joining us, everybody. Like I say, download us on your podcast provider of choice, or we'll see you again next week at 7 o'clock. Thanks very much. Roll them titles, Toe.
Take care. Bye.